Welcome back. The financial fallout from the coronavirus is another aspect of this developing story that touches our daily lives. Tonight, in our new Full Circle special report, ABC Action News anchor Paul LaGrone is following the money in the fight to keep Americans afloat during the COVID-19 pandemic. From what you need to do right now to get relief faster to the serious warning to those in power who are calling the shots.
As scientists and doctors race to contain and kill the coronavirus, government leaders are rushing to restrain the economic damage. Businesses are shutting down, unemployment is rising, and stimulus checks are now being mailed out.
Emotionally and financially and all that, it's pretty scary.
For folks like Tracy Wells and her husband Telly,
all in all, it's like everyone's basically just kind of in a state of panic right now.
The help can't come fast enough.
We are running into all roadblocks. As far as unemployment,
Tracy and her husband are both Uber drivers, and during the Seminole Heights murders, they offered free rides to keep people safe from a mysterious killer. Now, because of a very different kind of killer, they can't even give their rides away.
There's no rides. I mean, even if they are out there trying to get them, there's nothing.
For the Wells and millions like them, there is now money available to help them. Under the $2 trillion stimulus package signed into law by the president, gig workers, freelancers, and independent contractors are now eligible for unemployment benefits, including an additional $600 a week provided by the federal government. They're also eligible for the stimulus check. Here's what you need to know about the stimulus check. As long as you have a Social Security number, filed taxes in 2018 or 2019, and meet the income requirements, you will receive a check. $1,200 for single adults making $75,000 or less, $2,400 for married couples earning $150,000 or less, and couples with children under 17 will earn an extra $500 per child. The stimulus checks are not taxable, and they'll be sent to you via direct deposit if you provided the IRS with your bank info for past returns. If not, then you'll get a check in the mail, but it could take longer. There may also be delays if you haven't filed taxes in the past 2 years or if your bank or address information is out of date. The IRS can still find you through Social Security records, but it may take longer to get your money. Bottom line, if you haven't filed your taxes yet, experts say do it now, even if you didn't make enough money to file in years past. Still, there are some people who will fall through the cracks. Right now, the plan does not help those who made above the income level last year, but will likely suffer a loss of income this year.
This is uncharted territory. We've not been in a position where there's been an economy-wide shutdown.
Financial advisor John Wax says in a situation like this, everyone needs to compartmentalize their finances into 3 separate categories. Near term, what do you need money for right now? Things like groceries, gas, bills. Intermediate, money you'll need in the next year, like savings in case you do lose your job or suffer a pay cut. And finally, long term, depending on your age, these are the investments that can ride out the storm, something you don't need to touch in the next 5 years. And as for refinancing your home,
it is a good time to refinance, but I want to put a caveat in there. Just because the rates are lower doesn't necessarily mean it will work out. So you might explore it, but be prepared. If you've been furloughed or you have an income interruption or anything like that, the refi process might not be as successful as you thought.
While most of us are having to confront these difficult decisions now, there are questions about whether 4 U.S. senators got a heads up about the economic crash during a briefing on the coronavirus back in January. Senate financial disclosure records show Republican Senators Richard Burr of North Carolina, James Inhofe of Oklahoma, Kelly Loeffler of Georgia, and Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein each sold hundreds of thousands of dollars in stock in the days after that January 24th briefing. Senator Loeffler is married to the chairman of the New York Stock Exchange, and records show the power couple dumped more than $300,000 in stock, including shares of Delta Airlines, in the week right after the briefing and a month before the stock market crashed. Records also show they purchased at least $200,000 of stock in 2 companies that produce telecommuting software, which has become essential for millions of Americans now forced to work at home. In response to the allegations, Loeffler tweeted, "I do not make investment decisions for my portfolio. Investment decisions are made by multiple third-party advisors without my or my husband's knowledge or involvement." Senators Inhofe and Feinstein also say they had nothing to do with their stock sales. And Senator Burr says he sold his stock based on media reports about the coronavirus. But the moves raised enough eyebrows to trigger this warning from the Securities and Exchange Commission, saying a greater number of people may have access to material, non-public information than in less challenging times. Those with such access should be mindful of their obligation to keep this information confidential.
Americans just want to hear hope, and they just want to see those checks start getting in people's mailboxes and bank accounts.
Retired USF political science professor Dr. Susan McManus says the clock is ticking for Congress and the president to prove they can be effective during this crisis.
They've said they're going to get checks. It can't be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months from now. And that is the most important thing that people are looking to government for.
The 880-page stimulus package is also stuffed with handouts to special interests, including what critics call a $500 billion slush fund for corporations. Boeing lobbied hard and got $17 billion. Casinos also won, now eligible for billions of dollars in loans. $75 million for the National Endowment of the Arts, and it even includes language that fast-tracks FDA approval of sunscreen products, which has nothing to do with the coronavirus.
The old saying is the devil's in the details. And yes, they might pay some political prices down the way, but in the immediacy, people expect government to come together.
And as we say here, we are all in this together. And that starts with being informed. If you want to read the stimulus bill, we have a link on our website, abcactionnews.com. By the way, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said he expected those stimulus checks to start going out within the next several weeks. Paul Agrone, ABC Action News.